Hey, this is Vicki Peterson from the Bangles, and you are listening to Icon Fetch.
Welcome to Icon Fetch, the web's premier music interview show. Now, here's your host, Tony Peters.
Welcome to the show. Now, singer-songwriter Stephen Bishop scored several hit songs in the 70s and 80s, like Save It for a Rainy Day, It Might Be You, and On and On.
On and on, on and on, on and on.
He also wrote songs for many other artists, including Separate Lives, a #1 hit for Phil Collins and Marilyn Martin.
You have no right to ask me how I feel.
And he's part of one of the most iconic scenes of the classic Animal House movie where John Belushi smashes his guitar.
I gave my love a story that had no end. I give...
Stephen has a brand new album out called Blueprint.
Baby, that's what I feel. Ultra love.
And to talk about it, we welcome in Stephen Bishop. Good to talk to you, man.
Hello, Tony.
Yeah, how are you?
Nice to be here. Let me just adjust the chair.
All right, please do. All right. Well, they get the clap of the imaginary studio audience.
Yeah.
We'll just splice it in, kind of thing.
A glass of water.
Hey,
and
you know.
it's mineral water.
Right. And then
Perrier would be nice.
right, exactly. And then you get the backdrop of, like, whatever it could be, right? It's just,
Right.
it looks like a major city, but you're probably just standing in front of a fake wall or something. But anyway, so, tell me this. You got a brand new record out here called Blueprint. And, how long has this particular project been in the works?
Well, not that long, actually. In around March, in the beginning of March, I decided I wanted to do another album based on my demos that I had done through the years for different movies and different projects. And we kind of based the album on these demos, using them just as a blueprint as to where we wanted to go with it. So that's why I call it Blueprint.
Right, okay.
And in some of these demos were like really, the songs were really favorites of mine. So I tried to put my own favorites of my own songs on here. There's a few that I did that I didn't totally write. Usually I write everything, but I did Everyone's Gone to the Moon, that 65 hit from a British Invasion hit. That old hit that was it was recorded differently by this guy. He did it kind of streets full of people all
right.
alone.
Yeah. Jonathan King, right?
Yeah, Jonathan King.
Yeah.
And I did it. I sang it straight. So to be I really like the lyrics of it, and I really feel that lately it really it's a metaphor for everybody in the U.S. Everyone's gone to the moon. The climate has been so crazy.
Church full of singing, out of tune. Everyone's gone to the moon.
Absolutely. It's a song that was done back in '65, and yet it seems more relevant today than back then.
Yeah, really.
That's crazy. So, all right. So you lead off the album with a cover song, kind of mixing things up a little bit.
Right.
So then if we talk about the album, what might be the oldest song as far as demo wise? How far going back, kind of thing?
Well, there's this song called "I'll Sleep on the Plane." That is very much like a Steely Dan song. It was always one of my favorite songs.
I've been up all night, but I'll sleep on the plane.
And I wrote that probably about 20 years ago. But actually, there's another song called "Someone Like You."
I know how I'd feel with someone like you.
That's 28 years ago. It's very mushy. It was actually the theme of this movie, Stranded. with Lonnie Anderson. It's
Oh.
a cheesy movie. It really sounds cheesy,
Okay.
but
Wow, all right.
But it's a great song, and really proud of it. And then I co-wrote the song "Holy Mother" with Eric Clapton, and that's on there.
Holy Mother, hear my crying. I've cursed your name 1,000 times.
Nice, yeah, and that's good. I mean, you talk about that one. You kind of revisit that. That was actually one that got released on Clapton's own album, August. I remember.
Yeah,
so
that's right. And he also did it with Pavarotti in a concert that was recorded. It's on YouTube.
wow,
Oh, it's amazing.
that's got to be crazy. I mean, when you think about it, when you're doing a song and you're writing it, first of all, you got to pinch yourself. You're writing with Eric Clapton. And then the fact that it not only gets recorded by Clapton, but then Pavarotti as well. That's, yeah.
I know. Pavarotti singing lyrics that I worked on.
Right, yeah.
Amazing.
That's way cool. So let's go back to this Steely Dan kind of song, because I really like that one. I'll Sleep on the Plane. I mean, there's a lot going on this particular record, on this particular song. Where does something like that come from?
Well, I have my two different styles of writing. I have a more regular, mushy, lovey-dovey side where I talk about love and how wonderful love is. And, then I have my other strange side where I write songs that are, different kind of songs, just have weird lyrics. And I started it off when I was writing when I was 17. I wrote a song called There's a Hair in Your Enchilada. And,
wow. Is there a recording of this? Do we have this?
No, I don't think, thank God.
Darn.
Thank God.
Oh, right.
Oh, no.
Can you imagine Casey Kasem saying, and now, the number one song in the country is... That's great.
Then I had one called Beer Can on the Beach, Will
Okay.
There Ever Be a Sunday in Nebraska? I just all these weird songs that I had. And every so often I still like writing these weird kind of songs. And I'll Sleep on the Plane is a kind of a story song about this guy who gets into a card game, and then they chase him, and then he goes with his girlfriend to Rome and tells her she can wear her white fake fur in the Vatican Hall. It's just crazy. I love the imagery in it.
Right, posing for Playboy as she reads Voltaire. Yeah,
Right, posing for Playboy. She looks like Emma Stone.
Right. Oh, that's great. That's great. So I want to touch on some other songs. I really like Little Bird. What can you tell me about that?
So fly, little bird, fly.
Little Bird, I co-wrote with this girl, Dominique Starr, and I don't really know much. It's just we wanted to write, a song, that was good, and I don't really know much to say about that song. I really don't know who we wrote it for, but it was just one of those songs that you just, it writes itself, kind of.
Right. I mean, it can be easy as somebody that's just listening and go, oh, okay, when you write a word like, takes all the strength I have just to be yours, like, oh, you must be writing that from experience. But as you're saying, that's not the case.
Yeah, well, that line definitely is, from definitely experience, lovey-dovey experience. I've had a lot of that.
Right. So if we talk about Ultra Love.
That's what I feel. Ultra love.
That's got kind of a classic R&B feel. Did it start out that way when you first, started writing it?
Well, I wrote that with my friend Jeff Jones, who's my good buddy. We wrote that years ago, and I always loved the title, always loved the song, and I always wanted to have a song like that on an album. I actually did one similar called Falling on a previous album, but this version of Ultra Love is, I wanted to use my high, Ultra Love, and
right.
do all that.
Right, the Barry Gibb side of you or whatever, I don't know.
I found that I could do all that stuff, like, you are everything, and everything is you.
Right.
Like the stylistic.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's good. I mean, that's and you know what? You had that high falsetto thing going on the Animal House soundtrack too.
That's right. Yeah. Let me tell you about some friends I know.
Right.
They're kind of crazy, but you dig the show. You know, it's funny. I saw Homer Simpson trying to sing Animal House on one of the Simpsons shows. And he was going, da, 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 da,
right.
It was really funny.
Yeah, that's when it gets really absurd, right? You know, it's
right.
Oh man, that's crazy. So you talk about another one I like that's got kind of a different sound to it is Slippin' Into Love. You got kind of almost like a funk groove on that.
Slippin', slippin', slippin'. Slippin' into love.
Yeah. We do. We've been doing that in concert. That people seem to really like that. I was going to release that as a possible single, but then the people aren't really used to me sounding like that. So, but I really like the way that turned out. That's really fun. A fun little track. It's just about two people who are on a roof, getting into each other, I guess is a proper way to say it.
Right.
Getting to know each other a little bit.
Yeah, in the biblical sense, if you will.
Way.
Right.
And that's really the plot of the song is. It's really all about that,
So then when you're talking about Blueprint here, I mean, are these all songs that were done as demos for movies? Do I get that? Or are they just kind of demos
for movies or just for songs? But a lot of them were for films.
Okay, all right.
Blue Window's kind of a different song for me because I, mentioned all this heavy stuff.
Have you seen the world through my blue window? Through my blue window.
It's kind of a little step outside of my normal type of songs, but I'm proud of that song because it says how I feel about the world these days.
Right, and I mean that kind of then goes into a separate, category. It's not the lovey-dovey and it's not the crazy wacky kind of stuff. It's a
message song.
Right.
Which we don't get much these days.
No, we don't. Well, it kind of bookends itself. I mean, look at that. You got the opening song is "Everybody's Gone to the Moon." That's that kind of says it all right there. So, and I noticed you do it might be you, and you kind of maybe make it a little more upbeat than the original version.
Something's telling me it might be you. It's telling me it might be you. All of my life.
Yeah, we did. The producer John Gillison wanted me to do it really differently. He didn't want me to do any of my scat singing at the end and da 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 da, whatever.
Right.
And he wanted it to be just straight ahead and different than the original, and it is.
So I open up the CD cover here, and you are wearing a Who shirt in several of the pictures. Big British Invasion fan, are you?
Oh God, I love the Who, or Who, or however you pronounce it.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, one of the things that's kind of a funny perk that you get these days from commercials is they'll play like famous rock tracks, and I hear that Roger Daltrey scream in "Won't Get Fooled Again," I think it is. And I hear it on some, commercial for cereal.
Right.
I mean, it's just so weird. But,
right.
I mean, it's nice to hear.
Right.
So I hear that scream, and I just hear, who screams that good? I mean, it's just amazing.
Nobody. That's a classic scream right there. I
mean, wow.
Right.
I mean, he must have, I don't know what. He must have had a sore throat for months.
Yeah, didn't talk for a while after that kind of thing. So
John Lennon had a great scream, too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like on Twist and Shout and things like that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So what, have you ever had, as a songwriter, have you had songs in commercials? That's kind of interesting.
No.
Okay, all right.
Remember, I did a Delta. I did a Diet Coke commercial once. Diet Coke. Or something like that. years ago.
Really?
And then I don't think it ever came out.
Oh, all right.
I did record it.
Well, the problem is you didn't set your hair on fire or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, right. Like poor Michael Jackson.
That's right. Something like that. I don't know. So, I mean, from what I understand, you were a big Beatles fan in the early days. Like, got a chance to see Ed Sullivan and kind of change your life, sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm sure there's a big list of songwriters who fall into that category. I had to promise my stepfather, I'd clean up the house for the rest of my life, to watch the Beatles.
Right.
I mean, he just stood there, and he was just like, he was bald, and he was like looking at that hair, and he was just, look at those mop tops.
Right.
And he barely allowed me to watch it. And I was just like thrilled, I thought, oh my God, it's like a revolution in my house.
Literally. So, I mean, and then you went and formed, you formed the Weeds. That was kind of a British Invasion kind of band.
Yeah, it was. We started very early, and I think we were like 14, and we had a band. We called ourselves the Vandals, then we called ourselves the Classics, and then we called ourselves Stave and the Marquis, and I was Stave. I changed my name from Steve to Stave. For a while, I was Stave.
Stave, right?
Accent.
Right, Stave.
And I'd say to my mom, I go, Mom, in front of the guys, call me Stave.
And ask me if you're gonna have tea and crumpets later or something.
That's right.
Oh God.
Bangers and mash.
Right. So, but then, from what I understand, you kind of went through a lean period for many years where, like, you knocked on a lot of doors and got a lot of doors slammed in your face kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, everybody does. But, I mean, it seemed so impossible back then. I mean, I was, I came up to Hollywood when I was from San Diego when I was 18. And I got a deal as a $50 a week staff songwriter for Edwin H. Morris Publishing back then, and I didn't have a car for 3 years because my dad who was the president of an insurance company, wouldn't co-sign for me to have insurance.
Wow.
Thank you, Dad.
Thanks, Dad. Appreciate that.
And so I pretty much got around on my bike to my appointments and everything. I remember one time I went to a Capitol Records, and I had an appointment with this guy there. I think his name was Michael Sunday. And I was, with an A&R man with my little reel-to-reel. And I get in the elevator, and who's in the elevator going up but a really young Linda Ronstadt with big hoop earrings, no shoes, cut-off jeans, a white T-shirt with holes in it, and she looked amazing with tasseled hair,
Oh, I'm sure. Right. Wow.
She looked like phenomenal.
Wow.
Like the cutest girl.
Well,
I talked to her just for a sec, and little did I know I would open for her on the road, 7 years later.
Wow. Yeah.
We used to play to like 27,000 people. I'd come out there to 27,000 people when I was a young man, and it was pretty shocking, But, I mean, I remember, everybody said back then, oh, you're going to sleep with Linda Ronstadt. It's a done deal. She sleeps with all her opening acts. And I was like, oh, really? God, she's so hot.
Right.
And it was like, I was like, oh, so excited and everything. And then the whole tour wound up me just, running behind her limo going, excuse me, Miss Ronstadt.
So apparently that didn't happen then, all right?
That didn't happen.
Oh, man.
No.
Jeez.
Did not happen.
So let's talk about you kind of had sort of a fortuitous break in the business. You were friends with was it like Russ Kunkel's daughter? Was that how it worked out?
No, it's his wife.
His wife. Okay, Leah. Okay, Leah Kunkel was right.
She was Mama Cass's sister.
Oh, that's right. Okay, all right.
Knew everybody, and and she sang on Jackson Browne's first album.
Oh, okay.
Like
all right.
really, impressed with that. She wound up becoming a friend of mine, and she got my songs to Art Garfunkel and through her husband, and the Doo-Dah. He wound up doing 2 of his songs, and I wound up getting noticed by a record company, and the rest is history.
Right, and I mean, your debut album becomes this big hit, and you get, you've got Save It for a Rainy Day on there, and you got On and On.
Down in Jamaica, they got lots of pretty women. Steal your money, then they break your heart.
Did you find success was really kind of weird? I mean, after knocking on doors for years and years and years, and then suddenly it's just like, boom, now everybody wants to talk to you kind of thing.
Well, when it first, it was strange because the record company back then, now you can say the record company, now people go, what? The record company?
Right. What's that?
But back then, the record company didn't think I was going to sell that much, so they only printed like 3,000 albums. And then they sold right away. So it was, I think, a surprise to them I was very lucky in that I had, Art Garfunkel on the first album, Eric Clapton, Shaka Khan, and it kind of like it piqued people's interest in me. It did help, definitely. And it's just the way it wound up happening. I had these people that I knew in my life back then, so... it worked out pretty well, I guess. Right.
Well, let's talk about Eric Clapton. I mean, you've been friends for a long time. How did you actually get hooked up with him?
I had a manager back then, Bob Ellis, who was married to Diana Ross, and he was, he had like Rufus and Billy Preston and a lot of acts, and he took me on back then. And he was managing me, but he was a crazy guy, and he wound up. I was recording at A&M Studios, and he convinced Clapton and Patty, his then girlfriend, to show up at the studio and bring his guitar. So he wasn't sure what it was when he first arrived. He thought it was like some big joke. And I was supposed to be this funny guy, but I am a funny guy, but
right.
I'm not a joke songwriter. And he wound up playing on 2 songs, and he had a couple of maybe a little bit of alcohol beforehand or something.
Just a little bit.
Rumor is
right.
And but he played on Save for Any Day, which was great.
Nice. And I mean, he actually was very complimentary in his autobiography. I remember reading that he actually said you were one of his favorite songwriters. So
yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. He's actually turned into a great friend, but he lives in England, so I don't see him that much.
Right. Now let's talk about the movie Animal House. How did you get in the movie, I guess, first, and then, I mean, did the theme song come first, or you being in the movie? How did that all come about?
No, I think me being in the movie came first. I was friends back then with this director, John Landis, and he did a film called Kentucky Fried Movie that I was in, and he wanted to put me in Animal House somehow. So at first, I was going to be downstairs in the basement flirting with Karen Allen or some kind of a bit like that, and then we decided to have Belushi smash my guitar. So it was kind of a thought-out thing. We talked about it. It wasn't in the script, and it was my idea to do that song because it was an old public domain song. They wanted a public domain. So that's like, from the early 1900s or late 1800s or something.
Right.
I gave my love a cherry, and I tried to sing it like really bad. That had no stone, with all this vibrato.
Right.
It was so effective that Newsweek, when they gave the review of it, they said, a wimpy songwriter, and it was like, a wimpy songwriter. I was too good.
Right. It was too good. Now, how many takes of the smashing of the guitar? I mean, I don't know. Is that a one-take deal?
It was 2 takes.
2 takes. All right. You have to assemble
the guitar. I have the guitar hanging in a frame in my house.
Nice.
I had the cast sign it.
Nice. Now with the Animal House theme, you whip out your falsetto there. I mean, was that kind of a spontaneous thing,
Well,
or
it was the movie set in '62.
right?
So, what was big in '62?
It was like doo-wop, right? Yeah. Okay.
And Four Seasons.
Oh, right. Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Walk like a man. That
Frankie
whole thing.
Valli. Yeah. Right.
So it seemed very natural for me to do that. Let me tell you about some friends I know.
Right. I got one more question for you then. Sure. Obviously the landscape has changed dramatically as far as songwriting and royalties and all that kind of stuff in the time that you've been a songwriter. Is it still worth trying to be a songwriter as far as a profession goes these days?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, all you need is I always tell this to songwriters, all you need is that one hit. You get that one hit, but getting that one hit is tricky, and it takes years and years and years to get that one hit. Sometimes you get lucky. I was lucky back in the old days. I mean, the thing is, I hear songs on the radio now, and it's just like fast food music. It's like, are these songs going to be around in a couple of years? I mean, are these just going to a flash in the pan?
Right. Yeah.
I'm very fortunate that my songs are still played, which is amazing. It's really great. But is it still worth it? Yeah, I guess so. I mean, for some of these people, it's certainly worth it for that Major Lance or whatever those new DJ people.
Major Lazer. Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah.
Major Lazer or whatever his name is. I mean, those people. Who would have thought that? Kind of stuff would have been a hit. But I mean, it's very, very happening right now. So.
Right. Yeah, that's like the latest thing is that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's like, every week there's a new Major Lazer song that kind of sounds like the one previous, and
there's always some weird, antelope sounding thing in there.
Yeah, what is that about? Right? I don't know. It's either an antelope or something dying. I'm not sure which one.
Something dying.
I don't know. Oh, man. Well, gee, on that note, why don't we wrap this thing up here? So Stephen Bishop, his new album is called Blueprint, and if people want to find out more, StephenBishop.com is a website, right?
Great, StephenBishop.com, and it's available on iTunes and Spotify and Amazon and all that stuff.
Nice. All right, well, Stephen, good luck with it. And
thanks so much.
You got it, man. That guy's got some great stories there. Stephen Bishop, the new disc is Blueprint. And we've got more interviews up at our website. In fact, about 275 at last count. iconfetch.com is the website. Until next time, I'm Tony Peters. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Icon Fetch with Tony Peters. Want more great interviews? Head over to iconfetch.com. There, you'll find every interview we've ever done, plus CD reviews, This Day in Music, and a random album of the day. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter. Who is Tony going to interview next? It could be you. Send what you've got to Tony Peters. Icon Fetch, P.O. Box 292134, Dayton, Ohio 45429. Or email Tony at host@iconfetch.com. Until next time, this is Joe Kelly. Have a great day.